Sarah, if you could call the roll. 7:03 p.m. calling to order, 7:04 now actually. Commissioner Anderson, if you could call the roll.
All right, Commissioner Anderson is present. Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Here.
Commissioner Galvin.
Here.
Commissioner Hurst.
Here.
Commissioner Pinckney. Commissioner Sani.
Here.
Commissioner Williams. We have 5 out of 7 commissioners present, so we have quorum, I believe.
Excellent. We'll go right into public comment. Anyone either in the room or online can address the commission on any topic you like, up to 2 minutes. If you're online, use the virtual raise your hand feature, and then we'll call on you. Or if you're in the room, you can raise your actual hand and we'll call on you. I'll start here in the room. Anyone want to say anything?
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Again, my name is James Lee, and again, I'd like to congratulate you and Ms. Anderson for the turnout. I was very, very satisfied and encouraged. It lets us know that we matter, that we matter, and that our problems are real, and that y'all are serious at helping us try to address those problems. And I was really encouraged. So thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the room? Yes, ma'am.
Sorry, and if you're going to address it later on, just tell me, right? But one of the issues that I know that you guys have been working on is the trash, and that will probably be later.
It will come up, but if you want to talk about something now, that's fine.
What's your name, ma'am?
Melissa Haupt.
Hi, hello.
Hi. And okay, well, I know that you guys are working to get trash cans on the corner of 4th and U and maybe some other places, like public trash cans. That's the corner that I live on. And it's just the dumping continues. So, and so the city has been great, and you guys have been great. Thank you for coming out and looking at that and you guys talking about that. Unfortunately, we don't have bulk pickup because we're a condo, so we have to pay or kind neighbors help us clean it up, right? Every time that people come and dump stuff within our property line. And so, yeah, anything that we can do for that is super helpful. One other thing that I wanted to bring up is the parking. It's with the bus and with the bus company and with RAP and just a few other contributing factors, the parking has just gotten really out of control to where the residents there don't have anywhere to park, even if you've got like parking for the building, which unfortunately we don't right now, but it's nearly impossible to find parking spots there either on the weekend because the increase in traffic because of the businesses up the road, which businesses are great, but for whatever reason. So I don't know the perfect solution for that, but if we could try to figure out some kind of a solution for that. And then just a minor thing, some of the street signs are wrong. Like the one right out in front of our building says zone 1 parking. And obviously it's not zone 1. So, but they continue to give tickets. So,
Which street is this on?
4th Street.
4th Street, okay.
Yes, sorry. And then also on 4th Street, and I think it's more than just that corner, but also in several of the corners, when they redrew the lines for the parking areas, they extended them past where the parking signs are, which creates additional parking spots, which is great. However, they will ticket you if you park past the signs. Right. And so like, I know me personally, my husband and I have racked up at least like $400 in parking tickets from just parking in those spots, because that's the only one that is there a lot of times, and they'll ticket you in a heartbeat. So if we could figure something out, like maybe move those signs to match the lines of the right. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
Thank you. Going to online, Eli Ross, you're recognized for 2 minutes.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes, go right ahead.
All right. Excellent. Before I begin, I just want to highlight how helpful ANC Commissioner Galvan has been. we've been working through a couple of issues together. I have one discrete issue about trash and DPW ticketing enforcement. I've lived in this neighborhood for, gosh, almost 5 or 6 years now, and there's never been an issue with where I or any of my neighbors have kept our trash cans, but it appears that DPW's street sweep team has targeted Edgewood as an enforcement area. And there's been no communication from DPW in the shift in enforcement. And there's been no communication either from DPW about what we're supposed to do when our trash is not picked up on a normal day. I've had to submit almost 8 or 9 311 tickets over several months and years to get it done. But long story short, a lot of the neighborhood in Edgewood doesn't have a backyard, and it's not always at grade. And that's basically my issue is if they want us to move our trash cans where they have not really told us, I think that we should have some common sense enforcement that shouldn't be required to lug trash cans up and down stairs to, really be responsive to DPW. But I think it would be beneficial if DPW had some community engagement around what their plans are and why this is now an issue. And we should have an opportunity really to question that. And moreover, I think that we should have an opportunity to find some common ground and find a solution that might work for everybody, because I and a lot of my neighbors just aren't able to carry the trash cans up and down the stairs, which is really ultimately what they're asking for. So either smaller cans and more frequent pickup, or in my opinion, they should probably just leave the issue alone and let us keep our trash cans where they've been for multiple years. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ross. Anyone else, either online or in person, want to address the commission? All right, seeing none, that'll conclude public comment. Just want to note that we have a full house now. Commissioner Pinckney and Williams are here. We can move now to response to public comment if any commissioner wants to address any of the items raised in public comment. Commissioner Anderson.
I will respond to our neighbors on 4th Street. Thank you for coming out during the walk, and thank you for that acknowledgement, and hopefully we can start to work on the issues that were highlighted. The parking issue that you mentioned, Melissa, was Melissa or Missy?
Either.
Okay, cool. I just wanted to make sure. We did raise that with the DPW team when they were present, so hopefully we can work on that specifically. We have been hearing from neighbors in meetings previously as well that there hasn't been residential parking available because of the presence of other vehicles from out of the zone. I think on the specific kind of like the zone 1 parking sign and kind of the more specific issues that you mentioned for me, if you could help me either point out specific places or photos, that would be really helpful, so that I can send that along to the folks that we met during the teach review. Yeah, cool.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Any other commissioner? Commissioner Galvin?
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit. Thanks so much for coming. I wanted to talk briefly about the I worked with Mr. Ross here about moving some of the RPP signs as well, and was able to successfully move them working with DDOT so that they align with how they're supposed to align. So it can be done, and maybe it took a few weeks, but so yeah, definitely. I agree with Commissioner Anderson. Sending photos helps, and giving context and maps and showing them. Because a lot of the times we found that sometimes their maps just aren't up to date, and that they need to be reflected of that. For Mr. Ross, just want to let you know, I did get in touch with DPW. I asked them to come tonight, and then maybe an hour ago, I heard that they were not going to be able to make it tonight, but Susan, I think her last name is Bennett, said that she would be willing to come for the next round. So I will request that I'll reach out to her separately about your issue, and then also request that she come and do some community engagement about that issue in particular. So we'll be in touch.
Thank you, Commissioner. Other commissioners? Going once, Going twice. All right, that'll conclude response to public comment. Next item is the approval of the agenda. A week ago, I distributed a draft agenda, which I believe included all the items commissioners had submitted for the agenda. And if I omitted anything, it was inadvertent. Do any commissioners have any changes they wish to make to the agenda as drafted? Commissioner Galvin.
Yes, under the consent agenda, the resolution supporting traffic safety improvements, I believe that's with respect to protected bike lanes. I'd like to take that off the agenda, and I think it was supposed to be referred back to the committee or to the TAPS committee. I just haven't done enough outreach to talk with neighbors about that.
Okay. Is there any objection to kicking that item to next month? Seeing none, it is kicked to next month. Other amendments? Commissioner Anderson.
Like to add Director Chopra to the meeting agenda to talk about the mayor's budget.
Where would you like to add him?
So I believe I'm talking with our MOCR currently. I think it makes sense to add them to item number 13, but it sounds like they may not be able to stay for the duration of the full meeting. If we are amenable to adding the director after our committee reports,
So between 8 and 9.
would folks be open to that?
Commissioner Anderson moves to add a presentation by Department of Buildings Acting Director Ernest Chapra between items 8 and 9. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Galvin. Is there any objection? Without objection, it is added. Further amendments?
Yes.
Commissioner Galvin.
I had a request to add someone to the library task force. Can that be handled later, or is
Item 14.
okay?
So you can
discuss
just
that at that point.
why don't you go give us the name?
Samantha Poon.
That way, if anybody wants to pull her information between now and then, they can do that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Commissioner Sonny.
I would like to add for the Transportation Public Spaces Committee, a nomination for Elwin Gonzalez.
So that was same thing there. All right. Any further amendments? Seeing none, somebody could move to adopt. I guess I proposed it, so I should move it. I move to adopt the agenda as amended. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Is there objection? Without objection, the agenda is adopted as amended. Let's see, the agenda, I should say this, the agenda and all of the materials are at our website, anc5f.com. And I think we're sharing some of them. We'll share the link there so you can go to it directly. All right, next item is referral of items to committees, if any. And I don't think we have any. If I'm wrong on that.
I think
somebody tell
it's
me.
just besides the
Okay.
resolution I just mentioned.
All right, so we'll be done with that item. Next item is approval of the minutes of the March 28th regular meeting. Commissioner Galvin.
Thanks so much. Yeah, the meeting minutes were distributed on early on the morning of 3/29, and then posted to the website about a week later after internal review. And so I'd like to motion to approve the March 28th commission meeting minutes.
Commissioner Galvin has moved to approve the minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Hurst. Is there any objection or amendment or changes that anybody wants to make to the minutes? Without objection, the minutes stand approved. Next item is officer reports. And the first one is me. This was mentioned in public comment, but a couple of days ago, last Friday, Commissioners Pinckney, Hurst, Anderson, and me went on a Eckington tour with the director of the Department of Public Works. Councilmember Parker and his staff were there, and the director of DPW brought, what, 15, 20 people from his staff?
Enough.
Enough. We started right on the edge of Bloomingdale and Eckington, and went up Lincoln, and then kind of went through the neighborhood. Not quite making it to Rhode Island Avenue, but you know, we can't cover everything, and flagged a number of issues along the way. Trash cans were a big topic. We talked about what the new rules are going forward for the addition of litter cans. We talked about parking enforcement. We talked about a lot of different topics, and I'll yield some time to all the commissioners who are on that if anybody wants to highlight anything. Probably a highlight of mine was we were in Commissioner Pinckney's district talking to one of her constituents who was complaining about how her car keeps getting ticketed because she parks in front of what was a construction spot, but isn't any longer, but DPW's system still flags it as that. So she's getting tickets every week. And then half a block away, I think, Commissioner Pinckney let us down, there was an abandoned car that had been obviously been there
Yes.
for some time
It's gone.
and had no tickets on it.
It's gone.
It's gone now, so yeah. And you know, that's the important thing of, you know, we can get a lot of talk from these agency heads, but really what really matters is action and the follow-up. So I'm hopeful that we have a lot of that. And obviously there's a lot going on this past month, but that's certainly a highlight I wanted everybody to be aware of. I don't know if Commissioners Pinckney, Hurst, or Anderson want to add anything about that DPW trip.
It was a good walkthrough, and they did follow up. So I think that's absolutely wonderful. I have no issues with that.
Commissioner Hurst?
I second what people have talked about, and
You got to see Eckington?
I did.
Yeah.
truly experienced it. It was,
Commissioner Anderson?
Yeah, no, I think I won't take up more time by repeating everything, but I think it was a good example of, you know, we can make change happen. So please let us know if there are things that we can do to help make things better. And we will try our very best to make sure that they're attended to.
And I said this before the meeting, but I'll say it now that, you know, people are listening, is that every ANC in the whole city is trying to get the DPW director on site to see what's going on. And it's a great time to get the ANC director, or excuse me, get the DPW director on site, because his confirmation vote is coming up soon. So he's in a very like, let's help get stuff done for people mood, which hopefully will last, but you know, it doesn't always. So you know, we're very grateful for Councilmember Parker for helping organize that. Very grateful for the director for showing up and bringing his team and getting stuff done. And then I'm certainly grateful for all of my colleagues, because the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and I think we were very squeaky to DPW on a lot of stuff, and that paid off. So I'll leave it at that, and thank you. And I always thank people for coming. Thank you for coming. Thank you for spending a nice sunny day with a big crowd, a lovely big crowd here at Edgewood Rec Center with us. All right, thank you. Commissioner Anderson, Vice Chair.
Yep, I'll take a short amount of time. So speaking of community walks, next week we do have we have a ANC 5 will have a walk with DC Public Library staff to scout potential for them to get better acquainted with our neighborhood. We're very excited for the potential of the library coming to the area. So hopefully the DC Public Library staff have talked about how they want to make sure that the library is in a location that makes sense for the community. So we'll go on a walking tour and kind of point out areas, and you know, it's still very much in what they're planning on doing this year is mostly planning stages, and they're planning on doing community outreach soon. They're planning for that later in the year, so stay tuned for more updates. But this walk will at least get the staff better acquainted with the community, and kind of get you know, not just a map on their computers, get outside of the desk. So that'll be really exciting. Also just plugging our website again. So I know there was a question before the meeting started about how to hear more about updates. We'll try to put information on our website, but also we do a monthly newsletter. So if you haven't signed up yet and would like to, there are instructions on our website, anc5f.com.
Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Treasurer, Commissioner Hurst.
For a treasurer's report, we received our first allotment of funds. We received $9,370.02. There have been 3 things that we have paid money for. One is a allotment of checks for $140.35. We paid a $35 fee for not having money to pay for those checks when they were ordered, and a $10 fee when the next month rolled over and we still didn't have money yet. That shouldn't happen in the future. So yeah, maybe we'll be able to send us, use ANC resources in the future even better. So.
And then you're preparing a reimbursement form for.
Yes, I will send out a reimbursement form to all ANC commissioners by the end of the week. And if you have, if you'd like to have something reimbursed that you're spending money for on the ANC, it needs to be approved inside of our committee. It needs to have a receipt. And with those 2 things, we will be able to vote on them at the next meeting, and we could, in theory, right at that point, if it's approved, to, you know, cut payment. So.
Anything further?
No.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Hurst. Secretary, Commissioner Galvan.
No updates.
No updates. Oh, that's an artifact of last month. Sorry about that. Can't say that. Sorry, Sam. All right. Committee reports. Alcohol licensing has not yet been constituted. Public safety, Commissioner Galvan.
Sure, thanks.
Sorry, public safety, health, and community engagement. Commissioner Galvan.
Sure, thanks so much. So the committee held its inaugural meeting with 3 of the nominated individuals and 3 public guests, and we discussed a lot of different issues related to public safety in the neighborhood. It was really helpful for me, at least, to listen and to learn about what are different hotspots, what are different mitigation strategies, both from folks who have been here for just a few years and people who have lived their entire life here. So it's really good to get all of the different perspectives and learning that, and took some notes. All those notes are also posted on the website under anc5f.com/committees, and you'll see the agenda and the notes that were posted there. We're planning to meet again next month to kind of review our overarching kind of mission and what we want to achieve to get the word out, but also to start partnering with all the different government agencies and residents to try to help and find the best solutions for our neighborhood and our community. We also talked about that there were some really unfortunate stories about some individuals with MPD who were not being respectful of community members, and how we need to kind of get back to basics and make sure that people know their neighbors, and that our government agencies and the people that are here serving us also know us and are respectful of everyone. So I'm excited to see what we can accomplish. There's still a lot of work ahead for sure, but I'm hopeful that we'll start to develop a plan for a larger public forum, realizing it's probably a bit bigger to chew off in a shorter period of time. So we're going to first develop some topics. I'm happy to hear from members of the community who may have questions that they really want answers to, so that we can reach out to those representatives and those agencies to help with that. So please reach out to me if you have questions or you want to participate. That's all I have. Thank you.
It was a very good meeting and a very heartfelt meeting. I mean, because everybody there had a story, and why they were there to talk about public safety and the importance of that. One thing that I learned out of it is that 4th and W sounds like will be one of the focus areas of discussion.
Yes.
So if that's an intersection that you may be familiar with, consider getting involved with Commissioner Galvan's committee.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? All right, transportation and public space, Commissioner Sani.
Yes, we as in the one other member and I, we started exchanging draft iterations on some draft rules on how we manage our process for receiving resolutions that might get referred down by existing commissioners, or how we also like what constitutes our process to kind of come up with some ideas. We didn't want to vote on anything, given there are only two of us. So with the hope of adding a third person, it becomes a little more democratic. Obviously, we'll be going through the remainder of the nominations list or people who have expressed interest via the form, which is available on our website, anc5f.com/committees. There's a form you can fill out to express interest in various things and sign up for a mailing list and all these other aspects of commission life that may be interesting to folks. So we hope to have some good resolutions ready for ANC5F next month, but so far so good.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on transportation public space? All right, zoning and developments not yet been constituted, and then task force and outreach, Mr. Sani again.
Yes, we should be kicking off our website work next month. And hopefully we'll have some good results to share coming out of that.
Any questions or comments? Seeing none. Library task force, I don't think has been constituted yet. All right, so no report there. Anything I missed on committees or task force updates? All right, seeing none, I have a big reminder that this is where we stop because we added an item to the agenda of
Yes.
our guest. Pleased to introduce the acting director of the Department of Buildings, Ernest Chapra. If we could go ahead and unmute him. And
See if they have a presentation.
oh, he's got a presentation. All right, we'll put that up. Okay.
I think so.
Director Chapra, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you, but for some reason, video is off. I'm happy to do audio only, but if video can be enabled, that'll be great.
If you could try now, sir.
Oh, there we go.
All right. Yeah, so at least you know there's a human being here, not like a chat bot who's impersonating me.
I see you're in rock.
Well, neighbors and community members, really good evening. I'm Ernest Trapp. I'm the acting director of the DC Department of Buildings, and it's my pleasure to spend a few minutes with you this evening on behalf of Mayor Bowser to present her fiscal year 24 first short budget. I know we just have a brief time together, so I'm not going to go into a bunch of like PowerPoints and details, but I just want to touch on three broad areas. One is the operating context for the budget. The second is share a handful of our key investments. And third, provide information on where things really stand on the budget, since the mayor proposed her budget several weeks ago and our council is busy working on it. In terms of operating context, the budget required us to make tough choices. We are facing a trifecta of issues. What comes to mind is the federal money that we received from the COVID-19 pandemic is now starting to run out. The second is that the economy has slowed down. And then the third is that we have a really high office vacancy rate, which also affects the revenue that the city gets. And we are not alone in this situation as far as high office vacancy rates. Cities like Philadelphia, San Francisco, Boston, everybody's grappling with the same sort of issues. So as we look ahead, we know that there are some challenging times ahead that we have to navigate. The combined effect of these challenges is that we have to shrink our resources in an environment where our costs are also increasing. As far as our key investments, there's a priority and focus on bringing back our downtown, which is part of Mayor Bowser's comeback plan, because it is the core of what we do here in the city and how we are able to support development across all 8 wards, be it schools, infrastructure, human services, and many things that we spend money on. Some of the things in the mayor's budget include, 2 million to increase funds for single-family residential rehabilitation, 8 million to increase down payment assistance through the home purchase program, and 3 million for Great Streets and Small Business Fund. After the mayor proposes a budget, council gets to reshape it. And between now and particularly May, there are some key dates that I want to share. Starting on April 26th, Council Member Nadeau is having a markup session. On April 27th, Council Member Allen is also having a markup session. And on April 28th, Chairman Mendelson is also having a markup session. So if you look ahead, these are just some dates that I want to flag. And lastly, I also want to share that at least for now, what I know is that come May 16th, that is the anticipated date that council would vote on the Local Budget Act and also the Budget Support Act. So that's all that I have. I'm happy to stay online for a few minutes to take some questions. I also know that Anthony Black from the Mokers is on the call, and also Mark Anthony is also on the call, who can take specific DOB questions if I'm unable to address them directly.
Great, thank you for your presentation, and we'll now go to questions from commissioners, and then we'll do questions from the public. So does any commissioner have any questions for the acting director? Commissioner Anderson.
Just for clarity's sake, the dates that you've mentioned, are those opportunities for the public to engage in the budget process? Should they contact the respective council member's office to engage in the budget process?
Yes, the public is very welcome to contact their council members now, in addition to any feedback or input they provided during the budget hearings process, but nothing is final. So again, the message here is that residents, business owners, and our community still have an opportunity to advocate for things and speak directly with our council members before the votes occur.
Great. And I know that I think Sam Boner from our council member's office is online and giving a presentation later, so we can touch on that later as well.
Yeah. All right, we'll do question. Sorry, Commissioner, go on.
With respect to the Department of Buildings, you have a team, as I understand it, of inspectors that do evaluations of maybe illegal construction or maybe construction that is not being done properly. Is your operating budget staying flat with the number of inspectors that you plan to have, both for building occupancy and related items, both for commercial and residential? Or is there an increase in kind of your FTE counts for that?
No, there's not. And it's for a very good reason, which may not be obvious if you just look at sort of like budget documents. What we've learned over the last year in particular, and also the last 4 or 5 years, is that getting inspectors to look at a construction site is not really singularly about the number of inspectors. And that is because we have positions that we cannot even fill. And inspectors are not like products you can go to the shelf and pick it up. So, that's just the reality. We've done innovative programs to actually train people to become professional inspectors. And we've created incentives for people who are in college to consider becoming inspectors so that we can deal with the labor shortage. We've also made investments to shrink the response time to an inspection so that we are more likely to catch somebody in the act if it's related to like illegal construction. And that has been a reason why we are able to dispatch inspectors to a site when a request comes in. So the number of inspectors plays a role in delivering service, but it is not as important as everything else that goes into delivering service. Because even if an inspector gets to a site and issues a citation, somebody will have to go to court to defend it. Somebody will have to follow up with a property owner to ensure that they've come into compliance. So again, I just share this to say, yes, inspectors play a role, but I think the broader picture to deliver services that people need is much larger, and it's not all about the number of inspectors. So that's one of the reasons why our budget does not necessarily show a big increase in inspectors, because one, even if you add the positions and the budget, there are not that many people you can hire into those positions. So we have to rethink our approach to it.
Great, thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other commissioners? All right, we'll open it up to members of the public. If you're online, just hit the raise your hand feature and I'll call on you, or if somebody's in the room, you can raise your hand and I'll call on you. Phyllis Curaton, if we could go ahead and unmute her. You're on.
Good evening. Thank you, our ANC members, as well as Mr. Chopper, for your information. If one would like to qualify their home for, say, taking HAP clients, voucher clients, what would be the process to get an inspection done? Is that the same inspection that you guys do, or is that different?
That's a very good question. There are layers of our inspections. If you want to prepare your home or a property for voucher consumers or clients, what we focus on at the Department of Building is property maintenance and housing standards. Our agencies like DHS and others within the Health and Human Service cluster actually do their own inspections as it relates to voucher consumers. So the type of inspection we do has nothing to do with whether somebody is paying market rate or they are a voucher client. We just look for habitability, safety, and property maintenance. But specific voucher considerations is handled by our sister agencies in the Health and Human Service cluster.
Great. So should someone with a 4-unit building expect to have an inspection from your inspectors at some point?
Oh, yes. We have complaint-based inspections that we do if somebody says, for example, my heat is not working, or I have a leaky faucet. We also have proactive inspections that we do for apartment buildings, 3 units and up. So if somebody has a 4-unit building, at some point, whether somebody complains or not, we are likely to do an inspection because we have a system that looks at the risk profile of a building based on past complaints, where it's located, the nature of issues we are seeing, and it predicts whether there's going to be a housing code violation so that we can get ahead of issues and have landlords fix them before they actually blow up to inconvenience tenants. So those 2 types of inspections we will always do. And I also have to add that we do an inspection as a condition of their business license to ensure that it is safe. That's what we do. Everything else, our partner and our sister agencies handle that.
So if someone wanted more information, who would they contact?
About DOB inspections?
Yes.
Yes, you can go to dob.dc.gov and just type housing inspections. There's a ton of resources available. You can also contact Mark Anthony. He's the accounts manager and ward liaison for Ward 5.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any further questions? Not seeing any. Director, thank you for joining 5F this evening, and good luck with the budget.
Thank you so much, and you all have a great evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is presentations relating to agenda items, and I don't believe we had any. So then the next item, before I go to the next item, I've put out pieces of paper, I forgot the Post-its again, of letters relating to each of the items on the consent agenda. If any commissioner would like to remove an item from the consent agenda, just take one of the pieces of paper that corresponds to it and run away with it, or send a note to me or whisper to me, and I'll pull it off. And we'll do that before we get to it. Let's see. Public comment on agenda items is next. So if any member of the public, either in the room or online, wants to speak on any of the items that we will be voting on tonight, you may do so now. Yes, sir. We'll start off.
I just want to say give God honor and glory for this meeting. My concern is still about the safety, about the speed humps up here by Lincoln Road. And the thing is that they just got to put the new street down, paving the street down by the park. So how are y'all getting anywhere with talking with DBOT about put the speed humps in this area about the safety reason? That's my concern, and that's what my neighbor's Frank concerned about safety up in this area of Ward 5. There's a lot of areas of this ward need to be addressed, but right now, I'm just focused right now on the speed humps and the safety for everyone in this Ward 5 area. So there's a lot of issues. I don't want to take up nobody's time. There's a lot of issues in this area need to be addressed. But right now, my concern is for the safety for everyone in this ward, for safety for the speed hump. So if anybody can give me some input what DBOT are planning to do to put the speed hump by Lincoln Road, it's not that far from the school.
Remind me where on Lincoln
Road.
Lincoln in second.
In second, okay.
And
Commissioner Galvin, you want to?
yeah, I can address that. So thanks for coming.
Thank you.
So
Thank you, everyone.
last month at the commission meeting, we passed some school safety resolution, and that was forwarded to DDOT a few days later. The District Department of Transportation has 60 days to respond to that, and so that included that particular intersection, creating some bump outs. I was also walking through the neighborhood this past few days and noticed that they were doing the repaving.
Yes.
And I had some questions for DDOT. I'm like, if we're repaving, why aren't you adding the speed bumps like we requested? And they indicated that that is a separate process for them, that this was already in kind of the system, and that even though there had been several requests previously, that those are now being evaluated by the TSI, or the Transportation Safety Investigations.
It's inputs now.
Inputs,
They changed
sorry.
the I.
Inputs. That even though I think when I first started, I put in several, and I think the resolution, we will get a response from DDOT. Hopefully they can give us a timeline on when they plan to do it. I confirmed with some other folks in DDOT that even though they just did the road, it's not difficult for them to add the speed bumps after the fact.
Okay.
But I knew this was coming, because it's frustrating to watch them do a brand new road, and why aren't you doing it while you're doing the road, right? It doesn't make sense. So I think I got an email later this afternoon about this, and maybe we can talk afterward. I need to catch up on that, or I can email Frank. I see he's
Well,
on
you
the
can-
line.
You have my number, you can call me wherever time
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
talk, or even wherever's convenient for you.
Yeah, and I'm hopeful that by the next meeting we'll have an answer from DDOT, and they can give us some response on
So
that.
when the next meeting will be here?
It will be here, yes, on
23rd?
thank you. Hold on, I have
It is May 23rd.
May 23rd?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Of course.
Yes.
So then, like I say, you have my cell number. You can call me and wherever you want to get together on one-on-one, me, my neighbor Frank, or just, let us know and you give us a call.
Understood.
And I
Will do.
appreciate everyone.
Yeah.
For being concerned about the safety in this area. Because we really do need to, it's getting out of hand in DC. You got a lot of aggressive drivers in DC, and nobody really talking about the aggressive drivers out in DC. No, the police chief, the people, those who propose to violate the law, they talk about the gun violence, but nobody talk about the aggressive drivers out here. And they using their car just like they using a gun. They using their car for a weapon. I seen this every day.
I understand. I see it as well.
And maybe somebody, I'd like to see the police chief come to our meeting so we can have some issues, we can talk to him. And somebody from the mayor's office can come along with him to talk about the issues in DC.
We do have somebody from the mayor's office who will be speaking later at least. So we will have-
Around May
No,
20.
Today,
every meeting,
Yeah.
including time.
Or they can come here in person.
Yeah, well, I think it's virtual. So.
so the mayor's office is online and they will speak.
Yeah,
The
they're
MPD,
listening to you right
I
now.
will plan to invite them. I actually had thought that they were planning on coming on a monthly basis, but maybe they misunderstood. So I will plan to make sure that they come each time.
Yeah, because we got a lot of issues right here in the nation's capital that, people driving like they don't have respect for other people driving out here. The rest of the drivers is getting out of hand. Nobody's saying nothing about it. They talk about the gun violence, but they ain't talking about the rest of drivers out here. It's every day. It's late at night, early in the morning, don't matter what time it is. They run red light, they run stop signs. They blow at you because you stop at a yellow light. You're trying to abide by the law too, but people are not bound by the law.
Well, I think you would have appreciated it. I was speaking at the Tax Revision Commission, and I said, you want to raise some money, get reciprocity agreements with Maryland and Virginia so we can ticket the reckless drivers from those states.
Well,
We'd raise a lot of money if we did
Maryland,
that. So.
Virginia, they doing their part to stop these guys that are doing the aggressive driving, and most of the aggressive drivers come in from Virginia and Maryland and DC. It's not so much the residents of DC doing aggressive driving, it's Virginia and Maryland every day. I've seen people do some crazy stuff that don't make sense. And people don't have encourage respect for one another when they drive out here. It's to still go
Understood,
back to
yeah.
safety.
Yeah,
Still
Understood.
go back to safety.
So we'll get that on the, get it on for the May meeting.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Any other member of the public on any of the items on the agenda? Mr. Clark, I don't want to call on people, but one of the items, I'll leave this to you. One of the items we're voting on tonight is final approval of the 3rd and Rhode Island stoplight. And I think you had a little something to do with it. And so is there anything you'd like to tell us on whether that's a good idea or a bad idea to have a stoplight at 3rd and Rhode Island?
It's a great idea.
Yeah.
We as Edge Civic Association, we've been fighting that for the last over 10 years now.
Fighting for it, right?
Huh?
For it.
For the light.
Yeah, yeah.
That's one of the most dangerous intersection crossings we have in our community. And with that, we've worked with the developers that came in, Bryan Street Project. I think there was a couple down in Eckerton, Harry Thomas Way, that in part of their benefits agreement, they had to donate money towards that traffic light. So we got a total of about $160,000 towards implementation of the traffic light, because normally it takes about $300,000. What we got has already started the process of the engineering and the planning going forward to get the traffic light at that location.
Right. Here's a picture.
We put a little picture on the screen here.
It's a very dangerous intersection. You try to cross it. So we hope that hopefully, not this year, first of next year, we'll have a traffic light at that location.
But excuse me, sir, that don't make no difference. So then they run the red light.
Well, that's the start. We know we can't stop everybody from running red lights and aggressive driving. We gotta have something for people, and we looked at this, years ago, we started this was a problem. So that's why we wanted to incorporate into all the new developments, that these developers donate money towards that location. Because if we saw it as being a dangerous intersection to cross, with children crossing the street, walkers, bicycles.
That's right.
Yes,
That's what you're saying is true.
So,
For safety,
we can't stop the aggressive drivers. They're gonna get worse maybe, but at least we can put something there to slow that traffic down coming off that hill and going up the hill.
Are y'all thinking about putting speed bumps in that area?
You can't put speed humps on major roads like
You
that.
can't.
Because against DC law, you got federal highways and things like that, so we're certainly connected. Can't do that.
If you do have a speed bump idea, Commissioner Sani is our transportation chair, so email him.
Please do.
All right. Any other comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
So I have a question on that stoplight. Is there any, and I know it's probably significantly more expensive, right? But was there any exploration in trying to raise funds to get a pedestrian
Walkway.
yeah, but yeah,
Like a
sorry, my
bridge?
words, I lost my words, but
Mm.
yeah, like a pedestrian walkway, like an overpass or something to make it even more safe for pedestrians to cross Rhode Island without adding another stoplight right there in that short span that would affect traffic.
That would predate me, so I don't have an answer to your question, but I would,
Yeah,
I would guess. it
It's
would
predated me
cost us,
too.
yeah.
But maybe it's like a
Um,
long-term goal to raise money for that, put the stoplight up in the meantime.
Yeah,
And
that's
then-
something I guess you'd have to look at, but, slowing that traffic down, so you have a light there, it would be at Third and Rhode Island, Fourth and Rhode Island, you got a light at Fifth and Rhode Island.
Right, and
So
the,
it's increased because we got more density in the community now.
Right.
And with the coming development of the firehouse to housing on top of the firehouse, then we have more, density in the community, more traffic, more truck deliveries, more trucks. So we gotta slow that traffic down as soon as possible, quick as possible. It's taken over 10 years so far, so we are glad to be where we are.
One more milestone tonight. All right. Any other comments relating to agenda items? Anyone online?
No.
All right. I will close public comment on agenda items. Any commissioner want to remove any of the items from the consent agenda? I will remove C because I have an amendment to it. Anyone else? All right, items remaining on the consent agenda are B, D, E, F, G, and H. I will move the adoption of the consent agenda consisting of those items. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Commissioner Sani. Is there any sorry, it's a roll call.
Oh,
Commissioner
sorry.
Anderson. if you
All
could
right,
call the
I
roll.
will call the roll. Commissioner Anderson is mean. I vote yes. Commissioner Bishop Henchman,
Aye.
Commissioner Galvin,
Aye.
Commissioner Hurst,
Aye.
Commissioner Pinkney,
Aye.
Commissioner Sani,
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
I don't know. I missed it. I'm sorry.
Consent agenda.
Yeah, so it's,
Okay, aye.
We have 7 to 0 to 0, so this motion passes.
7 to 0 to 0 passes. There's some action items associated with this, some settle agreements that we'll have to execute and get to ABCA. They also renamed themselves recently because they have cannabis now in their name. And then Commissioner Galvin let me know what I need to sign for the Third and Rhode Island stoplight. That concludes the consent agenda, so now we'll move to action agenda, which has item C, which I'm sponsoring, so I shouldn't preside. Commissioner Anderson, you co-sponsored it, but are you okay presiding, or do you want to kick it to Commissioner Hurst?
I am.
Oh, because you have an amendment, I think, right?
I do.
Did you want to delete one? No, I'm
I
sorry, I
don't think so.
misunderstood.
No, I don't
Okay.
think so. I'm happy to preside. over
Okay,
this.
you are now presiding.
Okay, gavel. Are we opening debate for this? I will, okay,
I can just present it very quickly.
okay, I will turn to Commissioner Bishop Henchman to present.
This is a resolution supporting litter can installation requests. We've talked about DPW a bit already. We had them present at last meeting. We had a nice walk with the director and his staff. They have said that they are turning over a new leaf, and the new policy now is if the ANC acknowledges notification and approves of litter can installations, they will put it right at the top of their list, which currently has a 270-day wait list. Same with removals also. Removals also now go in front of the ANC for consideration. So I went into 311 and pulled what I believe to be every request that's been submitted in the 5F area in Eckington and Edgewood, including many of our hot spots along 4th Street and along Rhode Island. There's 3 more that, so I wrote this 10 days ago or 11 days ago, whenever we circulated it. And since then, 3 more have popped into the system. So I wanted to move to amend it to add those 3 additional ones circulated by email, but I'll read them out. It's through on request 23-001192586 at 329 Rhode Island Avenue Northeast, 23-00197390930. Sorry, let me do that again. 23-001197990. That's at 2018 5th Street Northeast. That's next to the Uber DoorDash Ghost Kitchen thing that has no trash can. And then 23-002011938 at 2135 5th Street Northeast. That's in front of the U-Haul that will soon have 38 condos, 1 block one way, and several hundred condos, 1 block the other way. So it'd be nice to have a trash can there, especially since there's lots of trash there all the time because there's no trash can. So that's an amendment I would like to move.
Do we have a second for the amendment?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Galvin. Can we do this by consensus vote, or do we need to do roll call?
Not for the
Quick?
amendment.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. I'm opening the, would any commissioner like to speak about this item?
I've got a question.
Yeah,
So,
Commissioner Pinckney is recognized.
All of these trash can installations are in commercial areas.
If I could.
Oh, yeah, actually, I recognize Commissioner Benjamin.
They are either on main streets or near a commercial business.
Okay.
Because it actually will not let you submit it unless you check one of those boxes.
Okay,
And as part of, I'll write up a letter with this and I'll try to include some narrative about each of the spots. We're kind of working at a disadvantage because they have everything that was submitted. All we have is the number and the location and the time it was submitted. We don't have all the detail or any photos or anything. So, and then certainly if any commissioner wants to add any detail on any of these, let me know and I'll be sure to include that in the letter.
okay, thank you.
Would any other commissioner like to speak on the item? Seeing none, I'll turn to the members of the public. If you would like to speak about this resolution, if you are online, please use the raise your hand feature and we'll recognize you. Or if you're in the room, please physically raise your hand. Okay, with none noted, we'll go to a roll call vote on this item, on this resolution. I will start with myself. Commissioner Anderson votes aye. Commissioner Bishop Henchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Galvin.
Aye.
Commissioner Hurst.
Aye.
Commissioner Pinckney.
Aye.
Commissioner Sani.
Aye.
Commissioner Williams.
Aye.
Okay, we have a vote of 7 to 0 to 0. This resolution passes. I hand over the gavel back to Chair Bishop Henchman.
We should have a gavel. No.
Mm.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Anderson. Excellent work.
Thank you.
I believe that concludes the action agenda, but if I'm wrong on that, somebody will correct me right now. All right. All right, we'll move to other reports and presentations. 10 minutes each item. We first have Ms. Fantle from Upshift DC with Mr. Mitchell from Lyft, who we regrettably had to bump from last month and were very gracious to allow us to do that. And so we promised them first presentation this month, which we're now at. And if we're now, I'm stalling so you can unmute them and everything. Okay, there. All right. There we go.
Sorry, I'm getting technical difficulties.
We're giving you permission to, there we go. Can you let her?
Hello, everybody. My name is Leah Fantle, and I am an active mobility educator with Lyft. So I've been teaching, obviously I've lived in DC for about 13 years, been a bike mechanic and educator since about 2014, and I use bikes and scooters and public transit for all my transportation around the city. And I think, yeah, I guess basically I've had the chance to be teaching scooter safety with Lyft as part of our contract for operation in DC. And I work with new riders in person and virtually and pop up at community events sharing DC scooter laws and tips for safe riding in the city. And so, yeah, DC is really small. It's only about 10 miles across. There's a lot of great opportunities running
One
around.
second, Ms.
Leah,
Hansel,
one
we got some audio
sorry.
issues.
What's
Yeah,
going on?
sorry, 1 second. There we go.
Oh, amazing.
All right. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Rewind 10 seconds. There we go.
Rewind 10 seconds. Yeah, essentially, scooters are great. I am really excited to get the chance to share just active mobility education here in the city with folks that are new learners and also just want to be able to learn a little refresher. So I get to do virtual and in-person yeah, like trainings for folks. And so I just basically wanted to highlight the fact that we do that. Also get the chance to yeah, go over a few points that we normally go over in our clinics and then kind of open up the floor for a few questions for y'all. So yeah, basically we've launched a new fleet of scooters. They're pretty awesome. They have some few updates that are we think that are pretty awesome. They have bigger, brighter lights, turn signals, brakes on both hands now, a phone mount that you can mount your phone with, as well as a longer battery and a little bit bigger tires for better cushioning for our road bumps. We also and basically yeah, when I lead scooter clinics, we talk about safe riding. So ideally folks that are riding scooters in the city are going to not be on sidewalks inside the central business district. We'll try and use bike lanes primarily and ride with the flow of traffic, not against it. So kind of following the directions on the roads. We also talk about safe locking. So how to lock our scooters up properly at the end of our rides. We want to lock to ideally like fixed objects around the city that are like bike racks and even signposts and things that are out of the way and not blocking the roads. I normally would have a slideshow to share with this, but I think it's not working at the moment again. But yeah, basically, yeah, one of the cool things that Lyft has been doing to try to make scooters, make locking a little bit more, encourage folks to lock a little bit more safely and out of the way is at the end of a scooter ride, we require a photo of the scooter locked safely to an object, and those photos are reviewed to make sure that folks are actually following those rules. And yeah, I also wanted to highlight that we have a community pass available. It complements the community partner program that Capital Bike Share has, where it's a $5 annual fee for unlimited 60-minute rides on the bike share bikes, which is a pretty amazing program. Anyone who's eligible for government benefits are eligible for that. We also have available a community pass for the scooter program. So that's $5 a month for free 30-minute rides, which is a way to just kind of increase access for the system to anybody who needs it. So if you're eligible for government benefits or you're being served by a social services agency in the city, you're eligible to sign up for these programs really easily just through the website or through your social service agency. So it's a way to just kind of get folks a little bit more mobile, easier around the city and connect. Often people use our scooters to connect like public transit to home or home to public transit, or to just kind of make those short trips a little bit easier. And yeah, I guess we've been trying to kind of pop up at ANC meetings. You're our second, which is kind of fun, just to kind of have the chance to do a little bit of community interface, have the chance to do a little Q&A with the community beyond just the folks that I'm able to reach directly through like our normal sign up and attend scooter lessons. Yeah, every month we do an in-person meeting up somewhere around the city and showing folks how to use the app, how to use the system, how to ride safely. I get a lot of folks that have never been on a scooter before, and so we kind of just go through the ropes of how to use that system. But also just kind of want the chance to interact with the community on a broader side. And yeah, if you have any questions, we can open up the floor for a few minutes of those. And I'm happy to kind of do my best to respond.
Great, thank you. We'll start with questions from commissioners and then we'll go to questions from the public. Commissioner Hurst.
Yeah, could you drop a link for the $5 community passes into the chat? I would love to.
Let me find that.
Yeah.
Really
The other question I have is how, that's for teachers and community people, but how much does a Lyft scooter cost these days if I'm just an average citizen and
Yeah,
want to take a 30-minute ride to the metro?
got it. Yeah, so a scooter at the moment, I believe is, oh my goodness, I need to look that up really quick.
Round figures is okay.
Yeah, let me find it really quick. It looks like, give me 1 second, I'm so sorry. It's been a minute since my last, sorry.
Okay, can I other question while you're looking at just so you can multitask at the same time?
Yeah.
Now, I know this isn't all your scooters because it seems that if one was to see scooters that were parked wrong or in the wrong place or in the wrong, that were Lyft scooters, could we call? Is there a place that one could tell that to, or?
Absolutely. So
just
we
help
always
move-
encourage folks, if you see a scooter in the way, and you aren't able to move it yourself, or it seems like it's blocking the flow of traffic, feel free to make a 311 report is the best way to deal with them. And yeah, those go directly to our operations team that's able to move those scooters. DDOT collects those reports as well, and so we're able to get a kind of a good sense of how often folks are leaving scooters in bad places, and we're able to kind of make changes to our system based on that information.
Related to that, where should people leave their scooters when they're done with them?
Yes, we in the app and on the scooters, there's information about how folks can best do that. Ideally, those are going to be locked to a public fixed object, ideally a bike rack. Or signposts are totally allowable, even no parking signs, which I always find kind of funny, as long as those aren't blocking any kind of flow of traffic. So they're not blocking ramps for folks trying to use those, not blocking the sidewalk at all. And yeah, the photo requirement at the end of a ride means that, yeah, basically you have to take a step back, take a clear photo of the scooter. And if you're found to be locking incorrectly on a regular basis, there should be some kind of consequence through the app that happens. But yeah, we don't want people walking to private property or to like trash cans or anything that's like movable, or just like stand locking it to itself is actually discouraged as well.
Great, thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes.
Mr. Pinckney?
Are scooters actually built for 2 and 3 people? One scooter for 2 and 3 people?
They are not. So we actively discourage what we call tandem riding. So folks riding with other people on them. We have decals on the scooters. It's in the app as well, actively discouraging that. People are going to do what they will, and there's not a great way to like, with technology, like measure when there's multiple people on a scooter at this moment. I wish we could. We actively discourage it, and yeah, it's not great when folks do it because it isn't super safe. And yeah, any of my education and also on the app and elsewhere, we actively discourage that.
All right, Commissioner Anderson?
Thank you so much for presenting and sharing about that community benefit program, and also about the locking, where the information about where to lock properly. I'm not sure if you were on the meeting earlier, but we referenced a walk with the DPW director and council member Zachary Parker last week. And it was actually really interesting as we were walking through the neighborhood, because we saw how many scooters had actually been parked incorrectly. And because it's been windy, a lot of the scooters were actually blocking pedestrian, like the sidewalks. And we moved quite a few ourselves. So if there is we've already asked a couple questions about it, but what is the consequence for people who are active, consistently are parking their scooters incorrectly?
That's a really good question. I would love to. I actually don't know exactly the answer at this moment, but I can get an answer from my contacts in operations and get back to you.
And we'll circulate that on our email list once we hear back.
But that information about the 311, submitting that is also really helpful too. Totally proponent of transportation, but also want to make sure alternate forms of transportation, but also want to make sure that pedestrians are able to navigate sidewalks safely.
Definitely. Yeah, the main reason that I actually was excited to become an educator is I do find that there are scooters littered across places, and I'm excited to have the chance to like just add little drops of encouragement for anybody who does ride scooters regularly who might be in attendance, or if you know people that do, remember to encourage them to not be leaving them in the middle of the sidewalk. And be locking them up properly to an object. The locks are there for a reason, and I always am bothered by that as well. And so yeah, basically always happy to be able to like show people the correct way to do it, because yeah, it's
Commissioner Sani, and then I'll have a question. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay, Commissioner Sani.
Yes, thank you for the presentation and for taking time to answer our questions. One concern I've heard from some constituents is I guess the mass of scooters in the city is also crowding out the bike racks that are designed for that the existing cyclists are using. Is Lyft sharing information as to where scooters are being parked and some of the high traffic areas with DDOT and other like neighborhood or community organizations so they can install more facilities for more people who are taking non-single occupancy vehicle transit to properly lock up their vehicles outside of the public right-of-way, outside of footpaths, and generally safely?
As a daily cyclist, I feel that pain as well. I primarily ride bikes around the city. I'm a bike mechanic as my main job. And yeah, I think the best way, I know that Lyft and DDOT have an active relationship and are actively in communication on a regular basis. If you do see that there is a dearth of bike racks and you see a space where there's an opportunity to add more bike racks and the parking is getting a little bit crowded, also reporting that in 311 and being in contact with DDOT is an amazing way to actually get those bike racks installed. There's actually, DDOT has, I know at least one staff, I think a few, whose entire job is just installing bike racks. And they are actively receiving community input and then basically if they get enough requests for a certain location, they actually just go in and install them. I'm not sure exactly what the turnaround time is, but yeah, it's kind of a great way that actually we get to see public comment in action. I have a number of friends that have requested them in certain locations and they get to see a turnaround in a few months.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I just have one question. How many scooter rides are taken in DC daily?
Daily? I don't have that number at the moment either. It's a really good question. I can get that for you as well. I'm gonna take some notes here. I know that it's more than you would expect. They're pretty popular. I can pull up a stat really quick from, but I don't have the numbers exactly at this moment.
Okay, we'll follow up. And then we do have a question in the chat. I'll read it out. Does Lyft have any improved measures to prevent people from stealing scooters? A lot of the ones left scattered all over the sidewalk are scooters people who are just riding them around at known loitering areas and then dumping them. If they aren't using the app, there's obviously no consequences. I don't know if you can address any of that.
Let's see. Wait, so can you repeat the question? Because I'm not seeing it in the chat for some reason.
Okay. Does Lyft have any improved measures to prevent people from stealing? Yeah. Do you see it? Okay.
I can't speak to that exactly. My role is mostly with the education side of it. So as far as I can look into that one as well. It's a good question.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, there. Okay. I did see a question about increase to the speed limiters in the scooters.
Okay.
We're actively working with DDOT on that as well. Right now the speed limitation is 10 miles an hour, and we're hoping to increase that and working actively with DDOT in communication to work on that. I know that higher speeds do increase the likelihood that folks feel safer using roadways instead of just sidewalks, and so it does have a clear encouragement for folks to use the roads and bike lanes instead of just hanging out on the sidewalks. And so we're actively trying to work on that.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Thank you for joining us this evening, and we'll circulate this information. Thank you. Next presentation, what we have on the agenda is Anthony Black from the Mayor's Office of Community Relations. I know you wanted to make sure that we heard from Director Chopra, which we did earlier. But if there's anything additional you wanted to add to that, we'd love to hear it. So, Mr. Black from the Mayor's Office.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Anthony Black, Ward 5 Liaison. Again, I don't have too many updates. I know I was taking notes and communicating with Commissioner Anderson throughout the meeting. And I did take really good notes, and I'm definitely going to look into the neighbors' concerns regarding the speed humps on Lincoln Road and 2nd Street and the aggressive driving. Also, the 4th and W hotspot, that's one that we have on our radar as well. So I know we have a meeting with MPD next week, and I'll make sure I drop this on their radar. Only other updates I have is the Senior Fest. The Senior Fest that's occurring on May 31st from 10 o'clock to 3 o'clock at the Gateway Pavilion. It's free of charge, and it's for the seniors to just come out and be celebrated. They also have an early bird hype event at Turkey Thicket on Thursday from 12 to 2. So seniors are more than welcome to come out as well. I know they'll be doing some line dancing and things of that nature, so they can come out and have a good time.
Anthony, is that Thursday?
Yes, that's tomorrow. Okay. No, yes, that's tomorrow.
Okay.
DPR is having a hiring event right now. Free job training, overtime opportunities starting at $35 an hour. So please feel free. If we have any neighbors who have children or young children who want to apply, I mean, not young children, but you know what I mean, teenagers who want to apply, please feel free to do so. You can go on earnwithdpr.com to do that. I will also drop that in the chat. If anybody has any questions for me, please feel free.
We'll open up for questions. Commissioner Hurst.
How old would DPR be looking for?
Ages 16 and up.
Okay.
Other questions for the? Seeing none from commissioners. Anyone in the room? No. Anyone online? All right. Thank you, Mr. Black. Good luck with the budget. Just saying that to everyone. All right. Next up, we have Mr. Bonner from Ward 5 Council Member Zachary Parker's office. Sam, are you there? Oh, you're being unmuted. Sorry.
Hey everyone,
There
this is Sam Bonner. Sorry, I don't think I can come off camera right now. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. If you want to try your video, go ahead and try it now.
I'm not in the best lighting, so
Oh,
I'll just share.
We all wish we were in.
But hey, hey everyone. So my name is Sam Bonner. I'm with Councilmember Parker's office, and yeah, I'm your constituent services person. So if you ever need help yelling at DC agencies, I'm happy to help. I'm going to drop my contact information in the chat in a little bit. But a couple quick updates from the council member's office. Well, first of all, as you can hear, I live on Rhode Island and Lincoln, so I'm right at the edge of ANC 5E and 5F. So I am a neighbor, very familiar with a lot of the issues in the community, and yeah, happy to help escalate any issues you need. From the council's office, the main update right now is we're kind of entering the final stages of the budget negotiations. So the mayor's proposes budget about a little over a month ago now at this point. And there is a budget shortfall. So there were cuts to pretty much across the board, but a lot of critical programs that we've been in the final negotiations now trying to fight for, to reverse some of those cuts and make sure that we're investing more intentionally to create an equitable and just budget. In terms of what's happening in the council, each committee this week has a markup, which is, we've now passed the stage where folks can, testify, but now it's all in internal council negotiations. But if there's any last minute requests you would want, I'm happy to hear them. And again, you can send me an email or call me and I'll put the information in the chat soon. One of the things that we've been focusing on, obviously, is safety in general, both as Mr. Harris, Mr. Reginald Harris said earlier, there are multiple types of violence that happen in our community. So we're wanting to fight for both transportation equity and street safety, as well as gun violence, and making sure that we have a safe and healthy community in general. So we released our public safety plan a couple of weeks ago that is trying to be a way of addressing the different pieces of the safety puzzle. So I can dig around a little bit to make sure I have the right link, but essentially it's a comprehensive plan, and we're calling on the mayor to make sure that she has a comprehensive plan, because I think one of the key things that we talk about in it is how do we make sure that the different agencies and the different pieces of the puzzle are actually talking to each other, coordinating, communicating, and also communicating with the community. One of the pieces we released last week was a new tool that the DC government and private citizens, DC residents, can use to hold gun manufacturers accountable. So it's a new bill that we introduced that would allow the AG, the Attorney General's office, on behalf of private DC residents, but also DC residents, if they wanted to as well, to have a private right of action to sue gun manufacturers for failing to take reasonable safety precautions with their firearms. And one of the big issues with violence in the community right now is that a lot of the guns are being trafficked from Virginia, especially, but also Maryland and other states. So this is just not going to fix everything by itself, but it is another tool in our toolbox that if we can pass it and have a hearing, and pass it and fund it, could actually make a difference to make sure that there are consequences for gun manufacturers who fail to take reasonable safety precautions. But yeah, happy to dig more into the larger safety plan, but something that I wanted to highlight is, there's a lot of arguments about, what is the right path forward. There's been a lot of debates and narratives around, is it more or less police, more or less SROs, which are the school-based version of police. But we're finding with police officers, but also across the board, is it is hard to hire folks, right? That police officers are shedding recruits and they're not able to hire fast enough. So we really do need a comprehensive approach, simply from the practical reason, which is that it is hard to hire enough police officers to meet the need right now. So we're kind of, in our comprehensive safety plan, wanting to explore this issue of, what does a more comprehensive, healthier approach to safety look like? And that includes both the holding gun manufacturers accountable, but also a school safety legislation we introduced a few weeks before that, which would expand the capacity at every school to have a school safety director. Whether or not they were a police officer, it'd be someone who's in charge of making sure that there is coordination, communication between the counselors, the behavioral health experts, the social workers, the security, the principal, the teachers, and everyone in between. In terms of anything else, like I know the commissioners had said, we did a walk through the community recently with DPW and the acting director Spriggs, and our goal is to continue to hold folks accountable so that the enforcement of both trash and parking enforcement and all these other things is done equitably, thoughtfully, intentionally, so that our government resources are going towards the areas that need the most attention and that have the most safety impact. as well as just quality of life impact. I think I'll stop there, but happy to answer any questions if anyone has any.
Okay, we'll open up for questions, starting with commissioners. Commissioner Anderson.
Hi, Sam. Thanks for the presentation. I know that you mentioned that there were cuts to the budget and that it's still in negotiations. Would you be able to share if there are any programs that were in this current stage that there were proposed cuts to that would affect Ward 5 more broadly or specifically our ANC?
You've muted yourself, Sam.
Yes.
Oh, we did it. Sorry.
No, I think.
No, I muted, but then I couldn't unmute again.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I don't think there's anything that particularly targets Ward 5 in terms of the cuts. Again, like I said, there were cuts across the board. But something I know from a lot of community members is there was a massive reduction in the emergency rental assistance program. And that is something that has already run out of money in this fiscal year. So the need is so great. And we literally get calls multiple times a day about needing rental assistance. And now that we are out of that, we really have nowhere to send them. So that's one of the big things that we're fighting for. In terms of other parts of the ward or even our area, I know that there was actually an increase to fund some improvements to Harry Thomas Rec Center. So we appreciate that, but we also want to make sure that the resources are going where they're needed most, especially in a time of where there is a budget scarcity. And I think I think there was, oh man, I'm going to speak out of turn now, but I know that there was, in terms of DPW enforcement, I know we hear a lot about booting cars from out of state as a way to hold them accountable. We had been asking for a larger increase, and I think there was only a moderate increase or not, or if not. So I have to dig a little deeper there. But happy to answer if people have specific things they have that I can try and reflect on. I'm happy to do that. But yeah, it was essentially across the board. So it's why it's a little hard to answer that question.
That's really helpful. I was mostly kind of asking also if there were specific programs or if there are specific programs that any of our neighbors have been advocating for that have been cut. So that's helpful context.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Commissioner Gava.
Yeah, thanks, Sam. When I testified to the council on behalf of the Department of Small and Local Businesses about the clean teams in both Eckington and along Rhode Island Avenue, I think I had some helpful back and forth with Councilman McDuffie, but I have not yet heard from that department. Is it common that they don't respond to witnesses, or is that something that requires kind of a follow-up?
That's a good question. I think, I think there is always a dance of, we want to open it up to public comment, but in the end, I know the committees can make their own decisions. So we're not the head of any committee at this point. So I'm not going to say like I understand all that process. But I heard from a number of folks at that hearing and also outside of that the clean teams are something that's really important. And I know we're also pushing for a variety of different efforts, including a cooperative business ecosystem and trying to make it better and easier to start cooperative businesses in the city from that same committee. And so I'm not going to say I understand all the budget negotiations. I'm more on the constituent side and less on the legislative and budget side. But I think what I would say is that, you know, like anything, organizing makes a difference. And so not just testifying, but also organizing others to testify and then organizing others to follow up and pressure and make their voice heard. And I think that makes a difference, both for our office and for any other office. So would encourage folks to engage, knock on their neighbors' doors and get them activated on issues that they're passionate about, so that you know, you got to keep the pressure up if you want to see change.
Thank you.
Other commissioners? Commissioner
Yes.
Pinckney.
I'm just gonna throw this in. Sam, I heard you mention improvements to Harry Thomas, when in fact, it had really somewhat moved forward to be a new Harry Thomas building. So has that been scrapped and we are simply going to do improvements, or can you even answer that?
I have the ability to answer it. I just don't have the detailed knowledge to be able to knowledgeably say this is the truth about it. I know that that is one of many rec center asks that we've gotten. And I know it was put in the mayor's priority budget, but I can't say like it is for these specific updates and not for these specific updates. I do agree with you. I think it is for a more substantial revitalization, but I don't have any insight from the budget negotiations to say like this is where it is and all of that. So, but I have no reason to say that it would not move forward, but yeah.
Do you know the dollar amount? That might give a clue.
I believe it was in the 2 million range from what I remember, but don't quote me on that.
No, that's the design portion.
Oh, great. I'm like, you're not gonna get much for $2 million.
There's another 19 million for the actual building of the.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
And this is now the second time in the last 2 weeks that I needed to do a little more research with our budget team to better understand it. So I will have a better answer next time.
It's a big document and a lot of agencies, and that if you don't know the answer off the top of your head, that's perfectly fine. We know how to find you. Questions from any further questions from commissioners? All right, questions from the public, either in person or online? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so with safety as a focus, is there anything in the proposed budget that builds in either cameras or any other kind of crime deterrent for the neighborhoods or throughout Ward 5? And if so, like what's the array of those? Like what's the spread?
Yeah, so it's a little complex of an answer there. So first of all, the proposed budget that the mayor put in is not the final budget. So there's sort of like, I'm a little in this weird in-between phrase because there's sort of what the mayor proposed, and then there's what the actual ongoing negotiations are, which again, like I said, I'm constituent services, so I've not been super involved in. But I will say there is already a camera rebate program that the MPD does, and we are hoping to have it be inclusive of other safety infrastructure. We've heard from other local commissioners that they would like solar powered motion sensor lights to be included in that same rebate. So that's something that we are pushing for as part of our public safety plan. And again, you know, what I've found across the board, wherever your perspective is on what the right answer is, it is hard to hire folks. So it is hard to hire police officers. It's hard to hire social workers. It's hard to hire recreation workers right now. So in the end, we have to be kind of flexible and creative in terms of the solutions we're offering. But that I know that at least in the mayor's budget, there hasn't been huge increases to any of those. And I know there was a cut to some of the violence interrupters programs. So we're trying to figure out, and we're hoping to pass more holistic stuff for the long term, as well as some stuff to hold folks accountable in the short term around the budget. I feel like I'm not sure if I answered your question, but in terms of cameras, there is a program, but I think that that is only one of the pieces of the larger safety framework.
Sorry, can I, so, yeah, I was more so referring to like actual, you know how they have like the temporary cameras, like for example, in the Home Depot parking lot, right? Those large cameras that are, have like the blue flashing lights on them that show that it's an actual camera that's recording. And it's, I mean, whether or not there's actually somebody watching on the other end, it's a deterrent, it's a crime deterrent. And so like, for example, on our road in the past week, we've had at least 2 that I know of personally, cars stolen in broad daylight. And so something like that, like that's a deterrent, would really help us out. So, and that's just right on 4th Street, which is a main road. God knows what's happening on the other side streets, you know, where there's less people, less prominent of a presence. Excuse me, there's no president on our road. But, you know, so any kind of like I don't want to say public camera, but you know, city owned or you know, board owned or MPD sponsored cameras that would be in the area that would help deter crimes would be greatly appreciated.
Sam, if people wanted to get their public safety ideas in front of the council before the final vote on passing the budget happens, who would be the best person to send that to? Or would it be at a hearing, or like, what's the best way people can get involved and get their information to the council?
Yeah, I mean, again, like I said, it is a little late for specific asks at this point, but at the same time, you know, I would love to hear people's perspectives because, you know, the budget, although it's the main budget, you know, it always can be updated. There's supplemental budgets that can be passed, and the positive, you know, for big changes that people might, you know, big ideas that people might have. Those are ongoing conversations that would need to be happen through legislation as well. So please feel free to send it to me. I would also say, especially around safety issues, Connor Shaw, our Deputy Chief of Staff, and I can drop his email in the chat as well. But like what I've heard from my legislative team is, you know, we've passed the point of couple of public comments, so a lot we have to focus more on actually, you know, pushing for what we've heard from folks from all of the hearings. But again, I will, if I get an email of someone requesting something specific, I'll definitely put it in the ear of our legislative staff. So I will put his email in the chat as well.
And I don't think the problem's going away. So, you know, maybe for next budget or the budget after that, we can revisit it. Yeah. Great. Any further questions? Mr. Clark.
Sam, just still on the line, Harry Thomas Rec, is there any guarantee that we can get that the $19 million that's been allocated stays in the budget? Because it's going to take conversations with the mayor's office. It's going to take more than $19 million to redo that the way it should be done.
Did you hear that question, Sam?
I heard, I think that the question was, are we going to ask for more because $20 million isn't actually enough to get what we want? Is that right?
Yeah. Right, the mayor's office said 20 million from the mayor's office. 20 million is not gonna be enough. So we just want to make sure that the 19 million that has been allocated stays there and not get taken away like it was done here. So
the question is is that 19 million staying in the budget? You can do everything you can to do that?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're not on that committee. We're not on the recreation Tran White's committee. So again, I would recommend folks organize their neighbors and call to that committee's number on dccouncil.gov. You can find their numbers on Tran White's office or his committee to push for that, because it really helps us when we're doing our advocacy for them to be feeling the pressure from the outside as well. So even though he's not our council member, he is in charge of that internal budget. But yes, we will definitely be fighting to make sure that that money stays, as well as the number of other rec center requests in the area, including New York Ave Rec Center, are also included in the both the capital plan as well as the kind of yearly budget. And this is something I'm also getting my head around, is there's all these different pieces of the budget. There's the planning part of the budget, there's the specific money budget, there's the staffing budget. So it's a lot to learn. And yeah, happy to talk through that and answer any questions that people have specifically, or at least I'll do some research to get better answers.
And I just want to emphasize, definitely bug Sam and bug Councilmember Parker, but remember, they're just one of 13 votes. There's also at-large members who represent all of us, including 2 of them that live in Ward 5, Councilmember Bonds and Councilmember McDuffie. So definitely include them in whatever you're sending on anything you want. Other questions? I think Commissioner Anderson, you had one.
Yeah, just to follow up, just to clarify for everyone in attendance, the window to kind of call the committee members and advocate is basically the next week. Is that correct?
So this week we have each committee has a markup, which is at least the public portion of them and announcing like, this is what we've heard. This is what we think should be moved around with money within our budget. Then there's another 2 weeks of actual negotiations and full council markup conversations where money can be moved between committees and larger legislation can be passed within the Budget Support Act, or the BSA. The first vote of the full budget is, I believe, the Tuesday in the middle of May. I keep forgetting the date of that. But the 16th.
Right.
And then the final vote is 2 weeks after that, which is May 30th. That is at least what the schedule is right now. So until May 30th, but really until May 16th, that's going to be the last kind of time when there's going to be negotiations between the full council. But at this point, a lot of people were asking them to submit their written requests so that we can be knowledgeable of what's happening in the community.
Mendelson yesterday said May 16th. The magic that if it's not in the budget by May 16th, it's probably not.
So just to summarize, sooner the better.
Yeah.
Your time to act is now.
Yes, exactly.
If there's no further questions, Sam, I just want to thank you and also thank someone who's not here, Mr. Stout from your office, because he was the council member's person on the ground for our DPW walk and did a great job of, I think he probably had like 100 follow-up to-dos from that walk. So I don't really envy him on that, but he took it in stride. And you had 2 commissions there, 5E and 5F, and 5E wanted to go deeper into their area. 5F, we wanted to go deeper into our area. Neither of us got what he wanted, and so Oliver kind of got it from both of us. And that's just, I guess, the nature of the job. But I wanted to express my thanks and appreciation to him, if you could pass that along, and of course to the council member for being there as well. We marched him 2 miles around Bloomingdale and Eckington, so he got his steps in.
I heard. Yes, I was sad to miss it, but I'm glad my colleagues stepped up, and yeah, happy to make sure that we serve the community here, and I will definitely spread that to Oliver and Carla.
Thank you. That concludes that item. Next item is appointments. Thank you. Appointments to committees or task forces. I have 2 that I wrote down from earlier: Samantha Poon to the Public Health and Safety Committee, and Ellen. Am I saying that wrong?
Correct. Actually, it was to the Library Task Force.
Oh, it's to the Library Task Force?
Correct.
Okay, my mistake. And then Ellen Gonzalez to the Transportation and Public Space Committee. Are there any other nominations that people want to put out right now? All right, is there any discussion on any of those? Seeing none, if somebody wants to move to appoint those 2 people to those 2 committees that I just named.
So moved.
Moved by Commissioner Hurst. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Anderson. Is there any objection? Without objection, they are added. Is there any further business before we do announcements and then adjournment? All right, we'll do announcements. Start with, we'll go alphabetically. Commissioner Anderson.
I yield my time.
Okay, I'll go last. Commissioner Galvan.
No updates. Thank you.
Commissioner Hurst.
Yield my time.
Oh, gosh. Commissioner Pinckney.
No update.
That I don't believe. Isn't there a,
His time.
isn't there a contest with Dave Thomas Circle going on?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. All right, Commissioner Sani.
Well, I do have something. As my neighbors in Edgewood have seen, we're starting to make movement on restoring trash cans to the community. I know of one in my neighborhood that was removed that I'm going to put in a 3-1 request for and probably bring forth to the commission. But if folks have other trash cans they feel are missing in the Edgewood area, specifically probably Commissioner Hurst or my SMBs 5F01, 5F02, please reach out. We'll work with you to get it in order. And that is it for me. I yield the rest of my time.
All right, Commissioner Williams.
I just have one thing to discuss, and that's in reference to Mark. You stated on a letter to Beggar, which is dealing with ethics. And your statement was planned unit developed creates a space. Your last statement was PUD does not exist. Beggar you don't go to zoning. Interactive zoning information. Pull up Bryant Street development or the case number, you will see the PUD. It is in there. Zoning websites have all the PUDs in Washington, DC. So there is a PUD in reference to Bryant Street development, and the community benefit amendment is in that PUD. I just wanted to make that clear.
Understood.
Because you keep saying PUD does not exist.
Is it the space across from F45 or is it
It's
which
the
space is it?
PUD for MRP development, which is Bryant Street development. The whole thing, the plans, what has been done, what will be done, everything is in there.
I just mean which space are you referring to?
The whole development.
Okay.
It's in reference, he stated in this email that a PUD does not exist for
Oh,
Bryant
you mean the
Street.
document. Got it. I
And
missed it.
you stated that you haven't seen the PUD. The zoning has all the PUDs listed on their website for any development in Washington, DC, not Becca. Okay, I just wanted to make that quite clear.
Okay.
Because I'm tired of seeing that.
Understood.
In the agreement, the space that they're designating as the PUD agreement
Everything is in there.
is
It's
yeah,
in
yeah.
that PUD.
Is that which space in the building is the PUD community space? That would be my question.
Your question will be answered when they build it.
Okay.
Like I
All
stated
right.
before, it's in the last phase. They're giving us space until that phase is completed.
I think you both think you're both correct. What I think is going on here is PUD, you're talking about the agreement, and he's talking about the room.
It's all in there.
Yeah.
Go in the website of zoning.
I understand what you're saying.
All the
I get it.
paperwork, all the document pertaining to this development is in the website.
What I think he was saying though is that the space hasn't been built yet, which is correct, right?
Yeah,
Correct.
yeah.
That's
So,
correct.
so
So he stated-
I misunderstood that. So yeah, I said if a PUD does not exist, but the developer offers the space, but currently the space doesn't exist yet. So
Not
there's
yet.
still a PUD, but the space
There's an
hasn't been
agreement.
built.
There's just-
Yeah, there's
That's
an
what I
agreement.
kept
Sorry.
saying.
All right.
Apologies.
And y'all was throwing it. I was like, no.
I didn't understand that. I'm
It
sorry.
hasn't, it's in the last phase. But in the meantime, they was gonna accommodate us. Is what I was saying.
Right. Okay.
And you kept shouting at me if I don't say a PUD. Look it up.
I'll look
That's
it
all
up.
I'm saying.
I'll look at it.
Okay, thank you. That's all I gotta say.
I'm glad that's clarified. So I think everybody's on the same page now.
Yep.
Yeah.
You on the same page?
I think so.
Okay.
All right. Good. Speaking of PUD spaces, the Eckington Hall PUD space, which was designated as community space for Eckington Civic Association and for the ANC, has been furnished. Not lavishly furnished. It's got a table a little bit better than this one and chairs a little bit better than these, but it's fewer of them, but it is available. And if any ANC commissioner wants to utilize it, or any ANC committee wants to use it, it's available. Just let me know. I'll put your name on the list of people. You have to go and like get your ID to get a key. It's a little bit hard to find. It's between Eckington Hall and the bouldering project, which you may think there's no in between there. There's a little walkway there and there's a little spot there. And I'm sure we'll do some kind of event there, and we'll put up lots of posters and chalk and everything to let everyone know where it is. But we now have that space, and I think, yeah, so that's good. We got some options, and maybe that's where we can put a printer. But we'll get to that down the line. I do have a couple of announcements. Wednesdays in May in Tanner Park, we have movies at sunset every Wednesday, starting May 3rd with The Devil Wears Prada, and then May 10th, Black Panther, May 17th, Hook, so bring kids for that one, May 24th, Men in Black, and then May 31st at Cruella. Fun time there. WMATA put out a bus restructuring plan, their first complete overhaul of the bus network in 50 years. And they're doing a series of, well, they say they're doing 50 events. I find that hard to believe, but they're doing 50 events, they say, on them. Certainly check out what they've numbered as number 214, which is kind of like the G8, and number 302, which is kind of like the P6, but they got some changes, including frequency additions, which are very much appreciated. Similarly, they're starting the discussion of what to do with Florida Avenue, maybe with some bus lanes. I think there's a community walk happening within the next month on that. So if you live along Florida Avenue, reach out to one of your commissioners about that. And I think that's all I have. Did you have one more? Oh, okay.
I was gonna add one.
Oh, Commissioner Beacon.
To Dave Thomas Circle.
Oh, you do want to talk about it.
Everybody's familiar with Dave Thomas Circle. Well, DDOT is doing a survey for a contest of some sort.
NOMA bid, yes.
Oh,
yeah.
I'm sorry, NOMA bid.
Yeah.
To rename Dave Thomas Circle. So I don't have the information, but since Commissioner Henchman said, Sylvia, don't you want to talk? Now, can you tell us when Wendy's going to be raised?
I don't know. They have applied for the permit. I think the permit was granted recently.
Okay.
And then, well, now we're in doing all the things that people do after the permit's granted before it happens. I keep hearing summer. I don't know what you're hearing.
I haven't heard anything,
okay.
but
This is where Commissioner Pinckney and my district is at the Wendy's.
Yeah. But summer sounds about right.
Yeah. Well, I hope they invite us to take sledgehammer wax at it. I hope to see you there for that. Yeah. Yeah. So if you have brilliant names, they want to put 3 parks, tiny parks, green spaces, I'll call them. Hopefully they stay green right there. So if you've got interesting names for what to name 3 green spaces in the middle of Florida Avenue and New York Avenue, NOMA bid wants to know.
You have until June 25th.
June 25th.
To come up with a great idea.
And we'll include that in our newsletter for folks. So sign up.
Yeah. Yeah, it was in this month's newsletter. So if you missed it, sign up for our newsletter. Yeah.
Any further business? Seeing none, I welcome somebody to move to adjourn, and Commissioner Anderson moves to adjourn. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Williams. Is there any objection? Seeing none, we are adjourned at 8:58 p.m. Thank you all.
2 minutes.